Beyond the perpetual spectacle of the burning tie yard, past the mysterious escalator that leads to absolutely nowhere, and lying underneath an old abandoned monorail is the town of Springfield.
Springfield, eh? What state?
I can't imagine we're allowed to say.
And one of the biggest mysteries of The Simpsons is where Springfield is located, an ongoing joke that runs throughout the show with intentional obscurity just to mess with us fans.
Dad, you're not pointing anywhere near Springfield. It's over here, Apu. Hey, what you doing?
However, there are a few clues hidden throughout the show that could reveal Springfield's true whereabouts, and I'm going to list some of them now, so stick around as I answer where Springfield really is. Illinois. One possible option is the state of Illinois. The state is shown many times in aerial shots within the show, and far too many just to be a coincidence. During the couch gag for the episode The Ziff That Came to Dinner, we zoom out of the Simpsons' home out of Springfield and pan straight out of Illinois. Another aerial shot that shows Springfield's geography is in the season 14 episode Bart vs. Lisa vs. the third grade. In a quick scene, a satellite signal emits from the state of Illinois where the Simpsons are watching TV. And if that wasn't all, in the season 24 episode What Animated Women Want, we once again zoom out to reveal that Springfield is undeniably in Illinois. And these examples go on forever, another being in the Treehouse of Horror 13 segment, Send in the Clones. After Homer creates numerous copies of himself using a magical hammock, his clones cause havoc by destroying crops. Over in an underground military base, a general shows the rate of acceleration of Homer's in Springfield, before we pan out to reveal the map of the United States. If we pause it quickly, we can see that Homer's head first appears only on a small handful of states, one being Illinois. Also, very weirdly, there is a real Shelbyville roughly only an hour drive from Springfield, Illinois. And as Simpsons fans will know, Shelbyville is Springfield's neighbouring enemy. And much like the fictional one, Springfield, Illinois also has a Lake Springfield. Let's just hope this one isn't as highly polluted and has spawned many mutated fish. Another big clue that points to Illinois is in the season 7 episode, Lisa the Iconoclast. In the episode, Lisa discovers that Jebediah is a charlatan. And after further study, by reading the town's founder's diary, it's revealed that he really was a pirate with a silver tongue. And in a bid to prove her wrong, the town's leaders dig up Jebediah's body in order to search for this silver tongue. Whilst digging at Springfield Cemetery, Willie throws dirt over a flame of a candle vigil set in front of the grave of Adlai Stevenson II, a former governor of Illinois and presidential nominee. Stevenson's real grave is located in Illinois, and this is such an oddly specific thing to include in this episode, and heavily hints that Springfield is in Illinois. Springfield, Oregon. Another likely state is Oregon. Matt Pat from the Film Theory did a great video explaining why he thinks Springfield is really in the state of Oregon. In the video, he likened the landscape of the state to the fictional Springfield with its mountains, deserts, forests, and lakes. All settings that have been utilised within the show many times before. Oregon even borders on the ocean, and as we've seen a few times within episodes of The Simpsons, we have seen that Springfield also borders on a beach. And just like Illinois, in the Send in the Clone segment in the Treehouse of Horror 13, Oregon is also one of the few states where Homer's head first appears before multiplying across the country. Some eagle-eyed fans have even spotted an Easter egg that heavily implies that Springfield could only exist in Oregon. In the season 18 episode Please Homer Don't Hammer 'Em, Bart is playing a game at an arcade. Next to Triangle Wars, we can see an arcade machine called Polybius. Now, the funny thing about Polybius is that it was an urban legend, an arcade game that first appeared in several suburbs of Portland, Oregon in 1981. It was said that children who played on these specific machines suffered unexplained side effects such as strange visions and night terrors, and it got even weirder, with reports discussing that men in black suits would collect information from the Polybius, thus suggesting that the game was most probably a government experiment. As a result, only 1 year later, the mysterious arcade game disappeared without a trace. Of course, this is most likely a fictitious story, but it is odd that the creators chose to include a glimpse of this particular arcade game amongst a seemingly innocent shot. Polybius was said to have appeared in Portland, Oregon only, making it specific to that state. And if that wasn't enough, the Simpsons creator himself talked about how Oregon inspired Springfield. In a 2012 interview with the Smithsonian magazine, Matt Groening was asked about Springfield's true location. He said, "Springfield was named after Springfield, Oregon. The only reason is that when I was a kid, the TV show Father Knows Best took place in the town of Springfield, and I was thrilled because I imagined that this town was next to Portland, my hometown. When I grew up, I realized that this was just a fictitious name. I also figured out that Springfield was one of the most common names for a city in the US. In anticipation for the success of the show, I thought this would be cool. Everyone would think it's their Springfield, and they do." So, Groening loosely based Springfield on his hometown in Portland, as a young writer probably would. He even named some characters after street names in Oregon, like Flanders, Quimby, and Lovejoy. Montgomery Burns was even named after Portland's Montgomery Park. His response was swept up by the media, with many clickbait articles stating, "Matt Groening has revealed Springfield's true location." So, case closed, right? Springfield is in Oregon? Well, not quite. One huge thing that is so important to note is that Groening never specifically stated that Springfield was in Oregon. This is an important distinction, as Matt was only inspired by his hometown, and that's a far cry from proclaiming that the show actually takes place in Oregon. Later on, with an interview with TV Guide in 2012, Matt Groening clarified this by saying, "I never said Springfield was in Oregon." Producer Al Jean said, "They've misinterpreted something. I've heard him say for at least 10 or 20 years he was inspired by growing up in Portland, but it's really just in every town." One thing that really contradicts that Springfield takes place in Oregon is in the season 17 episode, We're on the Road to Nowhere. In the episode, Bart is sent to a behavioral modification camp for trouble-making children, which is located in Oregon. This camp is so far away that Bart needs a plane to fly there, but when Homer discovers that Bart is on the no-fly list, he has to drive him cross-country to get there, and the trip takes several days.
Stupid Bart makes me drive to Oregon.
Therefore, this strongly rules out Oregon. Coming up, I have a few more theories that I think can really solve Springfield's real location. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, then I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the Simpsons Theory. Only 11% of you who watch my videos are actually subscribed to the channel. It may not seem like a big deal, but when you click subscribe, it lets YouTube know that you like the videos and recommends my channel to more and more people. So thank you. Now back to the video. Plan B. One other possible theory is that the town of Springfield isn't confined to just one location, but several. Springfield could be continually moving and not settling in one part of the United States. How, may you ask? Well, in the season 9 episode Trash of the Titans, Homer gets into a disagreement with the Garbage Men. When Homer stubbornly refuses to apologize, the Garbage Men in turn refuse to take the Simpsons trash. Piles of rubbish soon mount up outside the Simpsons house, and unwilling to apologize and take matters even further, Homer runs for sanitation commissioner, a role he has little or no experience of. And soon enough, he blows the entire year's budget in a single month. And while looking for alternatives to make some extra dough, he strikes up a deal allowing other cities to bury their hazardous waste underneath Springfield. And soon enough, the rubbish becomes too much, completely flooding the entire town, making it uninhabitable.
I think I done busted my stink bone.
Left with no other option, Quimby announces that they must turn to their all-purpose contingency plan.
You mean Plan B?
Yes, B.
We then cut to the entire town being moved 5 miles down the road, with buildings such as the school, Moe's and homes being transported on trucks. This definitely wasn't the first time the town has resorted to Plan B. When Mayor Quimby brought up the all-purpose contingency plan, the townsfolk already knew what he was referring to, hinting to the fact that this wasn't the first time that the town has been picked up and moved. With the amount of loony hijinks the Simpsons get up to each week, as well as the colourful characters in the town, it wouldn't be surprising if the town was in a state of perpetual motion, moving from one county to the next, state to state, inevitably destroying each town before moving on to the next one. In the same episode, Lisa says,
So we transplant the town. We're just gonna trash the new Springfield too.
if this theory is true, then that would explain the constant changing layout of the town. For example, Evergreen Terrace is a geographical conundrum. Sometimes the Simpsons' backyard leads out into another neighbour's house, but in other episodes it leads out into the parking lot of the nuclear power plant. Then in the Simpsons movie, the garden faces a wooded area. And it isn't just the houses, the businesses in Springfield are forever rotating too. In one episode, Moe's Tavern is a stone's throw from the Simpsons residence.
I walked all the way to Moe's from my house.
Way to go, Dad.
And other times, it's nearer the centre of town, so Homer needs a car to drive back home. In short, if the town changes location every other year or so, it would explain why the layout of the town is continually shifting. It's a fictional state. One other possible theory is that Springfield doesn't exist in any state, at least not in our world. The geography of Springfield just doesn't make any logical sense. It is somehow close to oceans, forests, gaping canyons, swamps, and a massive desert that is somehow 3 times the size of Texas. It even has an impressive mountain range, with their tallest Matterhorn being 20,000 feet high. The topography of the town doesn't fit anywhere in the United States. The Simpsons movie only complicates things further. While Ned and Bart go for a hike, Ned introduces the 4 borders of Springfield.
Ohio, Nevada, Maine, and Kentucky.
Of course, there is no real place that exists within these 4 states. This scene was a deliberate attempt by those crafty writers to tease audiences and us pesky over-pedantic fans. As there is no place in the US that fits all of these details, it is safe to conclude that the Simpsons universe is entirely separate from our own. As such, it is unfair to match Springfield to one particular place in America. And with that being the case, then perhaps the Simpsons exists within its own fictional state. Longtime Simpsons director David Silverman once said that Springfield is in the state of North Dakota, which doesn't exist. And there are a few references to this throughout the show, such as Homer's driving license. Therefore, it's entirely possible that Springfield is located in North Dakota, or perhaps an entirely other fictional state that doesn't exist in our world. Ultimately, these are just theories. There is no real answer to where Springfield is located, and there most likely never will be. Matt Groening said, "I don't want to ruin it for people you know. Whenever people say it's Springfield, Ohio, or Springfield, Massachusetts, or Springfield, whatever, I always go, yeah, that's right." And in an interview with TV Guide, Al Jean said there is no specific state that Springfield is in, and we will never reveal that secret. In the movie, we say it borders on Ohio, Nevada, Maine, and Kentucky, so good luck finding that state. In Springfield Confidential, Jokes, Secrets, and Outright Lies from a lifetime writing for The Simpsons by writer and producer Mike Rice, he said, "By this point, we've written enough clues as to where it might be that it can't possibly be anywhere." Perhaps the Simpsons live in every Springfield in the US, but none of them at the same time. It could be nowhere, anywhere, and everywhere. And that is just the magic of Springfield. And as Bart Simpson wrote on his chalkboard, the true location of Springfield is in any state but yours. And finally, I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Flying Hellfish members, Valentine Furter, Abby Parker, and Dominic Theroux. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, it means so much to me. And a massive thank you to my other lovely Flying Hellfish members. We have Timothy, who else Bazane, Liam, Steve, Charlie, Sean, Justin, Andre, Stefan, Nicholas, Vincent, Ashley, Kevin, Rob, Devin, Gadrak, Stephen, Edward, Anthony, Nicola, Nedcentric, Jeffrey, Felix, Stephen, Mason, Valentine, Abby, and Dominic.